If you'd like to follow along or chant along, it'll be on page 26. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a parent protects their life, their child, their only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will. Whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness, one should sustain this recollection. We now ask that you sit in quiet meditation until the start of the service. At this time, I'd like to invite our incense lighters up. And for the rest of us, if we could turn to page 2, we'll be doing the incense lighting Gatha together. In gratitude, we offer this incense throughout space and time to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May it be fragrant as earth herself, reflecting careful efforts, wholehearted awareness, and the fruit of understanding slowly ripening. May we and all beings be companions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May we awaken from forgetfulness and realize our true home. Thank you, everybody. My name is Sonshin. I use they, them pronouns. I am one of the teaching monks here at the temple. I just had a few brief things to say before we get started. First off, if you're new here, we do have some restrooms right through the curtains there. And also, directly through these curtains leading downstairs, we also have another space. If you need to step away for any reason, you can go down there and hang out. There's an extra bathroom down there as well, a water fountain. Um, Another thing is to help us create a sacred space here. Um, Whenever we're entering or stepping out, um, we give a quick bow. We also try not to turn our back to the temple, so we kind of walk out back first. Don't trip. Um, Also, if you do need to get up, we ask that you go around the back behind the cushions. And whenever you pass the center here, if you could give a bow, not to me, but to just acknowledgement of the Buddhas. Bow past me. um, but it's just a way to help create a sacred space here, as well as not interrupt the feed because we do have the camera going for the folks at home as well. With that, why don't we all stand and we will silently greet each other. And if you'll remain standing, we're going to turn to page 3 to do our 3 refuge chants. I go for refuge to Buddha, my deeply awakened mind, the living source of understanding and compassion, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Dharma, the path of mindful living, leading to healing, joy, and enlightenment, the way of peace which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to the Sangha, the loving and supportive community of practice, realizing harmony, awareness, and liberation, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I am aware that the 3 jewels are within my heart. I vow to realize them. I vow to practice mindful breathing and smiling, looking deeply into things. I vow to understand living beings and their suffering. I vow to cultivate loving kindness and compassion and to practice joy and equanimity. I vow to offer joy to one person in the morning and to help relieve the grief of one person in the afternoon. I vow to live simply and sanely, content with few possessions, and to keep my body healthy. I vow to let go of all worry and anxiety in order to be light and free. I am aware that I owe so much to my parents, teachers, friends, and all beings. I vow to be worthy of their trust, to practice wholeheartedly, so that understanding and compassion will flower, and I can help living beings be free from their suffering. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. And together we can bow. And if you'll turn to the next page, we'll be doing the Heart Sutra together. Page 4. Dhamma Prajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra. The Bodhisattva of great compassion, from the deep practice of prajna, paramita, perceived the emptiness of all five skandhas, and delivered all beings from their suffering. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is emptiness, emptiness form. The same is true of feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness. O Shariputra, all dharmas are empty. They are not born nor annihilated. They are not defiled nor immaculate. They do not increase nor decrease. So in emptiness, no form, no feeling, no thought, no impulse, no consciousness. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or objects of mind, no realm of sight, no realm of consciousness, no ignorance, nor extinction of ignorance, no old age and death, nor extinction of them, no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cease from suffering, no path to lead out of suffering, no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, for there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva holds on to nothing but prajna, paramita. Therefore the mind is clear of any delusive hindrance. Without hindrance there is no fear. Away from all delusive views, one reaches final nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future, through faith in prajna, paramita, attain to the highest perfect enlightenment. Know then the prajna, paramita, is the great Dharani, the radiant peerless mantram, the utmost supreme mantram, which is capable of allaying all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. Proclaim now the highest wisdom, the prajna, paramita. Gate, gate, para gate, para samgate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, para gate, para samgate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhisvaha. Dharma, Prajna, Paramita, Hridaya, Sutra. You may be seated. So, I wanted to give a talk on the four Bodhisattva vows. This is something that we chant every Sunday um, as our closing gathas. And the translation that we have here goes, and you can see on page 6 if you want to read along. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Endless blind passions, I vow to uproot. Dharma gates without number, I vow to enter. The great way of Buddha, I vow to attain. So, partially I wanted to make this talk because we do have a group of you all who are going through the Bodhisattva vow training right now. And so I think that this is very practical. But I also don't think that you have to do a formal training to take on these vows either. The real reason that I wanted to talk on these was an incident that happened about a week ago. I work with the special needs population, and I want to say this with kindness, but one day I was working with somebody and they were very ill. And in the middle of our time together, they needed to use the restroom. And let's just say they didn't have a very good time in there. They ended up going home early. And I was left with the duty of cleaning up the bathroom after them. And it was a lot. It was kind of everywhere. And I suited up, put on my gloves, put on a mask. And as soon as I walked in, just instant hit you. Kind of gagging, kind of fighting, like, if I throw up, it's going to make it worse. It's going to be two messes. And as I began to clean, the first line just came to my mind. The beings are numberless. I vow to liberate them. And I just started chanting it over and over again. And like, you know what? This is going to be my vow today. And maybe I was just distracted or zoning in, or maybe it was magic, but I stopped smelling it. And I just kept chanting it over and over again as I was scrubbing down this toilet, and finally got it all clean and getting the cracks underneath the seat where it meets the rest of the porcelain throne. And I just kept chanting it until it was completely done, and it got me through it. And I think that there's some power to these words. My first introduction to these vows was actually through this book, Living by a Vow, by Shohaka Akamura. This is a book that was given to me by my teacher, Suji. It was the very first thing that they gave me to read when I started studying with them. And it kind of goes into the idea of what is a vow and what is a vow in Buddhism, and Bodhisattva vow specifically. And if you look back at the history of the Bodhisattva vow, it goes back to, and whether or not you want to take this story as literal or not is up to you, but hopefully you'll find wisdom in it either way. It's the Bodhisattva Manjushri, who is said to be the very first Bodhisattva. And they're also the icon of wisdom in Buddhism, which makes sense because on the surface, the Bodhisattva vow is a very analytical one. It's kind of a way to take this core philosophy and breaking it down and turning it into something that we can do with action. I also, when I first heard about the Bodhisattvas, I've heard you've heard this definition before, but it's somebody who was held off or withheld their own enlightenment to help others. So traditionally, once you attain enlightenment, it's said that you sort of leave that wheel of birth and rebirth. You enter nirvana, you go on, but you have these bodhisattvas who are said, you know what, I'm going to just stick around even though I've attained my enlightenment, and I'm going to help everybody else. And that was my understanding of this for a very long time. So I want to kind of hit that first part first about how the Bodhisattva vows are a realization of the philosophy of Buddhism, the things that we know to be true turned into action. And this book does a really good job. So I'm just going to let um, Shohaku do the talking for a little bit. In this book, they offer the Soto Zen translation of the Bodhisattva vows, which I'm going to read to you first. And these are the vows as I learned them, which is not too different from what we chant here. Again, when you're translating from ancient texts, there's lots of different words that you can use to try to match the meaning. Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them. Desires are inexhaustible. I vow to put an end to them. The dharmas are boundless. I vow to master them. The Buddha's way is unsurpassable. I vow to attain it. In this book, they talk about how there was an older version of these same chants. And through this older version, we start to see how they arose in the first place. And I want to see if any of you catches it. I'm going to give you the original chant here and see if you've noticed anything if you have been in Buddhism for a while. I vow to enable people to be released from the truth of suffering. I vow to enable people to understand the truth of the origin of suffering. I vow to enable people to peacefully settle down in the truth of the path leading to the cessation of suffering. And I vow to enable people to enter the cessation of suffering that is nirvana. Does anybody sounds that found familiar to anybody? It's the Four Noble Truths. This is one of those aha moments for me, because when you read, our translation, all beings, one body, I vow to liberate, the Four Noble Truths is not immediately inherent there. But when you see that the Bodhisattva vows is the Four Noble Truths put into action. It's one thing to see the world, to see the way out, and it's another thing to, I'm going to turn this into an actionable way to live my life. And I think that that's what kind of turns a realization into a vow, at least one thing that does that. Honestly, I think that's one of the most beautiful parts of Buddhism, is that it's not just a philosophy that we sit around and, talk about like, oh, the world is so spacey, man. We should just talk about it for hours. But we take this and we turn it into a way to live our lives. If you can't take the teachings and apply them, then what's the point, right? We're all here because we want to help relieve the suffering of the world. And if you really think about it, it's probably why every single person walked through this door, whether it's the suffering of their own lives or they want to help relieve the suffering of those around us. That is the core goal of Buddhism. Which is why it's not enough just to understand. We also have to take this into our actions. The second point is not only is this sort of taking our core ideals, turning it into action, but then we have this idea of the Bodhisattva withholding, right, their enlightenment so that they can help everybody else, which sounds really nice. But I have thought of a different way of thinking about the Bodhisattva vow when I was thinking about this over, my last few, whatever you want to call the practice. You may notice that I'm wearing some brown robes here. We have a whole group of people that are sewing what's called a rakusu, which is basically this big giant robe shrunk down into about a placemat size robe that you wear around your neck. If you've ever sewn anything big like a quilt before, or maybe a whole outfit, you know that it takes a lot of time, a lot of patience. You also know that if your mind is constantly on, this is what I'm going to have, the end goal, it's really easy to get frustrated, to put it down, to give up, to be like, oh, I messed up that stitch. It's just not worth it. I'm going to go buy one on Etsy. Is anybody paying attention to the Olympics? Okay, so we all have fallen in love with Alyssa Liu over the last few weeks here. And I imagine that somewhere in the world there's an infant who hasn't yet learned how to walk, has watched Alyssa Liu gliding across the ice and said, you know what, I'm going to do that. And think about that baby who's like, I can't even walk yet. I can barely crawl. And if they were to think of my goal is to become Alyssa Liu, how unattainable is that, right? It's so far away. There's so many steps to get to that point. They can't even walk across the kitchen floor yet. I did hear somebody say that, liberating all beings is like trying to empty the ocean with a teaspoon. It's like, what's the point? It's so futile. I also look at our world today and we see all the things going on, all the political unrest, all the wars going on, the assholes in the world. It feels like we've got our teaspoons trying to empty the ocean. And it's very easy that if we see that endpoint, that we put our teaspoon down and be like, you know what? Screw it. It's not worth it. This is, I think, the magic of the Bodhisattva vow, because as the way that I like to understand it, it's not that, we've obtained this great realization and we're going to hold off to help everybody else. But the Bodhisattva vow is moving forward without the end, without attachment to the end at all. Being able to pick up that quilt and focus solely on the stitch that you're making, knowing that it's not about the end, because if you think about the end, it's too much, it's too big, give up. That infant who's learning how to take their first steps, if they're attached to Alyssa Liu gliding on the ice, it's too much, it's too big, I'm going to give up. What's the point of this first step? It's too small. But when that baby takes that Bodhisattva vow, every step is so meaningful. Just the step that they're in the moment, without attachment to everything in front or looking back at everything they've achieved. They can just be single-mindedly in taking the steps because that's the right thing to do. We may not be able to change our world, but we can take our steps because we know that vow is doing the right thing, taking what we believe to be true, turning it into action, and doing it without attachment to the end, right? And for many of us who've lived for longer than a week or two, have known that there's almost nothing that turns out the way that we envisioned. A famous John Lennon quote is, life is what happens when we're busy making other plans. So sometimes that attachment, not only can it be frustrating, but sometimes we miss the achievements that we make along the way if we're too attached to that end. It's this movement without that attachment that I think is the true Bodhisattva vow. So to sum it all up, we have this truth that we found, the truth of suffering, the truth of the way out of suffering through non-attachment. And we're going to turn that realization, that awakening, into actions, to a way that's going to guide our life. And even though this is a completely unattainable, unsurpassable, giant task that we're never going to see the end of, we move despite that. We're not attached to the end result. We're the baby taking their first steps, even though Alyssa Liu's gliding across the ice. We're going to help that person in need, even though there's a billion other who are down and also needing our help. We're going to do the right thing, even though everybody who's running the planet is not doing the right thing. Movement without attachment to the end. That is the Bodhisattva vow. So again, whenever you chant this or you need some of that inspiration, just remember these 4 vows. All beings, everybody, one body, we're all connected, right? Helping one of us, helping ourselves, helps the entire world. I vow to liberate. Endless blind passions, all of the desires of the world, they're never going to satisfy. I'm going to let them go. I'm going to uproot them. I'm going to see them as the cause of my suffering. And Dharma gates, without number, there's so many lessons to learn, so many paths that you have to walk along, but you're going to vow to just keep on moving, despite never maybe seeing the end. And the great way of Buddha, and way here is not so much of a path, but the enlightenment of Buddha. you're going to vow to see it. And with that, I'd like to invite us to meditation. And to tie it all together, meditation is a realization of this Bodhisattva path. Because in our meditation, we are sitting in the moment. We're taking that single step of the infant, the single stitch of the quilt. We're sitting just in the right now, in the right here, and we're letting go of the goals. We're letting go of all the times that we tripped and fell or had to take our seam ripper and undo it. And we're just here with the single stitch that we're in. It's that present mind. That's where this ties in, that being present in Buddhism with being compassionate. If you can just sit here in this moment as it is, in compassion, in your known your truth of what is right in the world, and for this one moment, you're just here in this moment, all the other stuff doesn't matter so much. Take those steps. Be here. Soak up that peace. That's the right thing to do. And so I'll ask that we dim the lights. I will start and end with a couple hits of the gong, and if you do need to get up and move around, feel free. And in that moment of meditation, we were all Alyssa Lu. Congratulations. Or, I mean, the Buddha. With that, I'd like to bring us to our joys and concerns. So, this is a time when we can, in some ways, celebrate the fact that we're a Sangha, that we're in a group of people. And one person's joy is all of our joys, and we can celebrate together, as well as when one person is going through something hard, that we can all be there with them in that moment as well. So, if there's anything that you would like to bring up from the past week, or anything going on in your life that you'd like to bring to all of us, then I would invite you to do that. So, if you'd like to raise your hand, we will bring the microphone your way. Well, I'll start. I'll break the ice. Yesterday we had our retreat, our winter retreat here, and we did have, I think, including the teachers, we had 14 people here, which was really amazing. And it was I wasn't here for the whole time, but I was able to come here and do an oryoki ceremony with the people here, which is a Zen mindful eating. Um, and it was a really wonderful experience. I'm really grateful to have been able to do that with you all. And as I told the group there, that's the most people I've ever sat down and had that ceremony with. So that was really great for me. Much needed too, as well.
Kind of have both a joy and a concern. It was pretty surprising to me that the sermon was on the topic that it was today. After I talked with my sponsor Thursday, and I was talking about like my own goals and things that I want to achieve, and he brought up to me that I hadn't mentioned helping other people, like in my recovery program or community, at all, and kind of dawned on me later that it's been nowhere near the forefront of my mind to help my fellow man or human, nearly as much as it should. I don't know. Whenever he brings up helping other people, my ego kind of like clenches up, and I worry like, oh, my own wants and needs aren't going to get fulfilled if I'm wasting my time helping other people. And it's so like, I really don't like that part of myself. But I can't deny that it's there. And I always feel like I have to be a certain level of healed or, at a certain point in life to start helping other people. And that's not the case at all. I feel a lot more fulfilled when I'm busy helping other people. So I did do something about it. I signed up with my sponsor at a wildlife rescue. And I'm also volunteering at the Red Project next week. Which is cool, but I really think that, like you were saying, like those small steps are so much more important than we realize. I've been trying to make sure I call people and just ask them about their day. And if you really listen to people, they'll tell you what they need help with in life. Just asking someone how their day is going is so important, and it's time where you're not thinking about yourself and your own wants and needs. And also not getting attached to the outcome. I think I really need to focus on helping people for them and what they need versus just trying to make myself feel better. That's all I got.
Good morning, Sangha. My name is Max, and I was actually one of the people who attended the retreat yesterday, and I want to share a little bit about my thoughts about it. And it was such a fascinating experience. Admittedly, I'm not the greatest at explaining my thoughts behind certain things, but what I loved about it, how it really emphasized the importance of mindfulness, because I always appreciated mindfulness and what it was, but I never was really able to necessarily grasp on the deeper meaning behind why it is so important and fascinating, and why it's something that a lot of people should consider to an extent. And so I know that obviously this won't be the only retreat that happens. That there will be like a spring one and a summer one, and I can't recommend it enough. So yeah, I figured I'd share that with you guys. Thank you guys.
Thank you. My name is Nanda Pulabhava. I'm glad that you're all here today. Friday, I celebrated 29 months of sobriety. And first and foremost, I do want to say, I completely understand what you're saying. So much service work, and part of me always is like, what do I get out of that? It's there. It's not really loud anymore, but it's there. And we celebrated by inviting a friend of mine that's a really talented musician. And there was a campfire. It's like campfire jam or something. It was at a church at Martin Luther King off Eastern. And it was just the most wonderful community. And it was wonderful to see him in his element. And they're just doing like some Christian, like love. It was just whatever songs, some old 70s stuff. And it was just very unity oriented. And it was just this wonderful experience. And to just sit back, like I can do music stuff, but I don't need to. This is their thing. And to be able to be, when that's enough, you're doing pretty good, And then yesterday, this is Amazing Joy. So they had Guide and Light, they had a fundraiser. It's the second annual live event. There's musicians, and Glenn Phillips performed. He's the lead singer of Toad the Red Sprocket, for anyone that recalls, right from the 90s. And he sang 2 Buddhist-inspired songs, one from the Dalai Lama's book, The Purpose of Happiness, The Joy of Happiness. I can't remember the name of the book. And then one he can't copyright, so he can only perform live, because it was like Thich Nhat Hanh's lyric, like words from Thich Nhat Hanh, and there's other elements he described. But it was about being in the present moment. So I have this song going through my head all the time, But it was just wonderful to be at a Christian event and hear someone who's like, I'm going to do some Buddhist stuff. And like people were really open to it. And it was amazing. And it's just amazing to see so many people do really care about recovery. There was a lot of money that was donated yesterday to continue to help the purpose of Guide and Light, which I'm really grateful to be here, because I'm here because of Guide and Light, and so many people have helped and invested in me. So I'm really grateful to be part of this Sangha.
Hi, I'm Angel Kashanti Baba. I have a joy, and I feel like it just aligns a lot with what you spoke today, Sonshin. I finished a huge application this week, and it was for like a stretch opportunity. And there were so many moments where I just felt like, no, it's too much. No, I can't. It's not, why put all my time and energy into this if it's not it might not go anywhere. It's such a stretch. And I realized that I wanted to put my time and energy into it because it felt right. It felt in alignment. It felt like worthwhile, and just trusting that if I continue to do that it's just a beautiful way to live. And then the next day, my boss was like, I want to schedule an interview as soon as possible. And I was like, well, great, that too. So I have no idea what's happening, but there's just a big part of me that feels like it doesn't really matter that much, because it feels really right. And even when things are, with that in place, even hard things can just feel worthwhile. So thank you for that reminder today.
Hello, my name is Nicole. I just want to share my joy. The message today and every time I'm here just always seems to resonate with me, and I'm sure everyone else. But I think it's just detaching from the end result. And I work in a job in healthcare policy. I write appeals all day, every day, sometimes on the weekends. And it can really feel like that. I think the analogy you used or someone else used was the teaspoon emptying out of the ocean, or you can't empty an ocean with teaspoon or whatever it is. But it feels like that every day for me at work at times. But there are those rare moments where we win appeals, and the people we work with are speech generating device users. So they're really expensive, and insurance doesn't always want to cover those. So when we do win those, it's amazing. But that mindset is just something I needed to, or the lesson is just something I needed to hear today, because it's been just hard recently. And with the healthcare changes, it's been even harder for users to get those devices. So my joy is just the message. And then my concern is just healthcare in general for everybody, specifically in our country right now. So.
Hi, I'm Leo. I just want to y'all are my joy. This is my first time coming here, and y'all seem so like open and welcoming, and the space is just great. It's also been great to come here with a friend for the first time, especially in a time of my life where my disability is becoming worse. It's been a great reminder to take things one day at a time, but also lean on community when I need it.
We're glad you're here. Online. Okay.
This one's from Nathan. He says, my husband, Robert, and I are going on a proper grown folks vacation this week, which is a rarity. Joy.
Hi, I'm Mac. I also suffered from addiction. I'm a recovered alcoholic. But yeah, I want to speak about being mindfulness. Speak about that, and I feel like we should definitely be mindful when it comes to kids. I know how this country can get chaotic in the world and all that bullshit, social media. If anything, I just feel like we should just keep it cool for the kids. And I'm starting to, think like that because I vape, and my little nephew sees that, and he tries to act like he's vaping as well when it comes to his Legos or something. So like, he's prone to it now, and his mother just got out of jail, so we talked about it and stuff, and it's beautiful how we're both on the same page of being mindfulness, or being mindful, whatever. And the sobriety is everything to me. Shout out to World Variety, the natives, the Native Americans, and this Buddha temple. This has been a blessing for my sobriety. It opened my mind up and enhanced my spiritualness. And it's a beautiful thing to, find peace through the chaos. And I'll pass with that.
Hi, Sangha. My name is Ian. Glad to have everybody here today. Nice to feel the energy from everybody. I did the retreat yesterday as well, and that was a joy. The silent lunch service that you led us through, Sonshin, that was really cool. For those of you who weren't able to attend, We went through a practice where everybody served one another in silence, and it was a very mindful way to share a meal together and to appreciate that food that we had, the joy of having, and the ability to have such a great meal. I think it's been really nice to hear people talk about that importance of sobriety as well. I think the fifth precept is such an important one in the precepts that we can practice in Buddhism, and kind of a cornerstone for a lot of the other precepts and mindfulness as well. So appreciate everybody sharing about that. I do have a concern. Anybody else who was at the retreat yesterday might have experienced this too. Anybody who's looking for quinoa on the shelves of their grocery store, I think the retreat participants bought out all of the quinoa in Grand Rapids to serve as their dishes. So my apology if people are grocery shopping today and can't find quinoa. A little bit of a concern there, perhaps.
Buddhists love our quinoa, I'll tell you.
So thanks, everyone.
Well, if that's everybody, I'd like to take a couple moments just to hold it all in, okay? We'll go to the announcements later. Yep. And with that, I'm going to move to some announcements. And I will say that we do have a newsletter here. And if you want to sign up for that newsletter, you will get all these announcements in your email, and so you can be caught up on who to contact and when things are. First off, we do have an online meditation group that meets every Wednesday at 6 p.m. And that's over Zoom. And you can contact Venerable Kunga Nima or see the newsletter for more information. We also have a Thursday Dharma discussion group that meets at 9:30 a.m. I believe they meet here at the temple, and right now they are discussing Zen and the Art of Saving the Planet by Thich Nhat Hanh. And you can contact Venerable Jingsu Ryan for information about that, or see the newsletter. Let's see, some of these things have already happened. Another thing I'd like to bring to your attention is that we do have a Buddhist mutual aid Sangha here. And as part of our initiatives, we have created a pantry downstairs. So if you go downstairs, and it's right across from the door, there's a big wooden pantry. And inside there is different dry stock goods, there's food, there's hygiene products. And that is free for anybody who's in here and needs anything for yourself. You can feel free to take, or if you know somebody in your life that could use those items, it doesn't have to be for yourself. Maybe you want to take a care package just to give out. We would love to see that pantry empty, so feel free to take. And also, if you are able to donate, feel free to donate any goods. You can stock it up. So it's a give if you can, and take if you need. So I would love to see things coming quickly in and out. So if you're even thinking about it, take something, because I think the worst thing that could ever happen is we come back and then everything is the same as we left it. So I want to see empty shelves. So we also have our Buddhist-based recovery meetings here. Mondays at 6:30 p.m. here at the temple. Wednesdays at 6:30 at the Alano Club, and then Fridays at 10 a.m. Here at the temple or through Zoom. And you can get a hold of right over here. Right? Yep. If you have more information, or I believe there's more information in the newsletter probably too. With that, I do believe we have a couple extra announcements.
Morning, Sangha. For those who don't know me, I'm Alex DeMarco, Dharma name Dive Satya. I have a quick announcement on behalf of the Buddhist Mutual Aid Society, or BMAS. BMAS is currently trying to raise some funds to help an individual who has recently lost their job after receiving inpatient care, and therefore could use some help in the short term to cover rent. This is the first case like this that we've had, and we're hoping to raise between $1,500 to $2,000 to help this individual at this time, to provide them with a level of anonymity and also to provide accountability for the collecting and tracking and distributing of funds. BMAS has appointed a team of 3 individuals who are aware of the situation and are together keeping track of what's been donated. That team, at least for the moment, is myself and Reverend Sonshin and Max Eitzen. Did I pronounce it right, Max? Okay, wonderful. And so if you're interested in giving to this collection, you can reach out to any one of us 3, and we have a Cash App handle where the individual is comfortable receiving donations. And if you or someone you know is struggling financially and could use some help, also feel free to reach out to us and we can see what BMAS may be able to do to help. Am I forgetting anything important with this? Okay. There we are. Second Sunday of each month, we're meeting here after Temple if you're interested in being a part of the Mutual Aid Society. We're getting started, but we're hoping it can be really helpful.
Do we have any other announcements that anybody would like to give?
My name's Angel Kshanti Baba. So the first of the 6 paramitas is dana, which means generosity. And so there are a lot of ways that you can show your generosity to the temple. We have a group of us called the Dharma disciples who participate in things like setting up the temple, giving their time to be a greeter, light incense, various things like that. And it's because, everybody is really helpful. So if something comes up and, you sign up to help in some way and something comes up, there's always someone willing to step in. It's a really beautiful community experience that I feel like helps me feel and stay connected to the Sangha. There's also goods. And who are we talking to if for goods, like if toilet paper? Do you know? Okay, it'd be talk to David May for specifically what kind of goods we might need. You can always ask anybody in gray. And we also have dana boxes at the entrances of the temple and then one in the basement. There's QR codes. Nobody at the temple gets paid for anything. It's all volunteer. So that just goes to keeping the lights on and keeping the temperature warm enough. So thank you.
That also reminded me, I believe that our QR code for the VMAS group is up as well. So if you are interested in joining the Buddhist Mutual Aid Sangha, up at the front on the pin board, I believe it's the red paper, there is a QR code for joining the Discord. Discord's how we've been communicating throughout the week. And if you would like to get plugged in or just know what's going on, or if you have resources to share, or if you have needs, then that's a good place to get connected to us. So does anybody else have any other announcements that they'd like to give? Cool. All right. With that, we are going to be doing our closing gathas, including the 4 Bodhisattva vows. So I hope that they never sound the same ever again, okay? And these are on page 6. Sure. For all unskillful actions ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thoughts, now I atone for them all. Vast is the robe of compassion, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Buddha's teachings for the benefit of all sentient beings. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Endless blind passion, I vow to uproot. Dharma gates without number, I vow to enter. The great way of Buddha, I vow to attain. And if we could have one side face the other, we'll give one last closing bow. Thank you so much, everybody. If you'd like to stick around for a little bit, we'll have a few of us will be having tea downstairs. You're welcome. Or if you'd like to check out the pantry and see if there's anything that you could use, feel free. Thank you all for coming out in the snow.